Hi, I'm Jasmine. Today I'll be going through 9 ways you can set yourself up for success in the coming months. As many states are opening up, it's important to keep your future in mind. One of the ways to plan for your future is by making sure your money takes care of you. The first way is to file for unemployment, if applicable. At first, with unemployment, I thought you had to take on any job. Like, if I'm an engineer, then I have to take on the first job that gets thrown my way, even if it doesn't suit my interests or my hobbies or my skills. But that's not actually how unemployment works. It's more about suitable work. So I could take a long time to look for a software engineering job, but that's okay because it's a suitable line of work for me. So that's beneficial to note. It also provides a little bit of financial security for those who are job hunting because you don't have to worry about money while looking for a suitable job. Also, because of the current situation, the government increased unemployment benefits by an additional $600 per week. This ends July 31st. There is a lot of noise about adding more money to continue unemployment benefits or another round of stimulus checks, which is the next way I will talk about. In May, many people received stimulus checks. For us millennials, that's around $1,200, which phases out around $75,000 of adjusted gross income. For those with kids, it's an additional $600 per child or dependent under the age of 18. So this obviously excludes college students who filed as dependents in 2018 and 2019. There are talks that are almost finalized for the next round of stimulus. Unfortunately, this still does not include college students who filed as a dependent, because the stimulus check only applies to dependents who qualify as children in the Child Tax Act. You could check out the Get My Payment option on the IRS website and make sure that it correlates with whether or not you've received your stimulus check. Number 3 is to make sure you have health insurance. During an emergency, it's so important to know where to go and how to get help. In the case that you were just laid off, you can check with your employer to see if they offer COBRA. If COBRA isn't offered, you can go to healthcare.gov to see what options are available for your state. Although it isn't ideal, at least it covers you for a bit, which is better than not having insurance at all. If you already have insurance, it's a great time to take a look at what is covered. And if you have more bandwidth, I would suggest taking a look at HSAs and FSAs. The next step is to save up for an emergency, also known as an emergency fund. If you're able to, try to save up for 3 to 6 months of living expenses as your emergency fund. This should cover if anything bad were to happen, like you've lost your job or a medical emergency. And with the current situation, you really don't know what might happen. If 3 to 6 months is really not possible, try to save at least $1,000 in your emergency savings. There are so many things in life that are uncontrollable, but saving up for those moments can give you a little bit of clarity in the midst of uncertainty. Your emergency fund should rest in a high-yield savings account. There are 2 aspects in a high-yield savings account. The first part is a savings account, which only lets you take out money 6 times per month, but they also pay you interest. I would say that those 2 features are the main things that separate a checkings account versus a savings account. Now, the next part of a high-yield savings account is the high-yield portion of it. This part concerns the interest rate. While most banks offer 0.01% APY, which is a very small amount per year, there are many online savings accounts that earn more than that. As of now, Marcus by Goldman Sachs offers 1.05 APY, Amex or American Express offers 1.0% APY, and Ally, one of the more popular online savings accounts, offers 1.0% as well. Many robo-advisors also offer higher yield savings accounts, and you can do research on which option is the best for you. So the next way I have for you to make sure your money works for you is by setting up an IRA. An IRA is a tax-advantaged account. In my words, is an account that lets you evade taxes legally. That's a joke, by the way. It's actually set up by the government. So why is it a tax-advantaged account? In a normal brokerage account, you get taxed twice. So once when you earn your money, so if you like work somewhere and you get a W-2, you get taxed on that money. And then when you go and buy, like, say, an Apple stock, and then you sell Apple stock for a profit, that profit is taxed again. So with an IRA, you only get taxed once, either on your capital gains or on your income. Okay, say I earned $250 and then I get taxed $50, so I'm only left with $200. And let's say with that $200, I go and buy a share of Apple at $200. And then when I sell my Apple share, it's now at like what, 420 or 430? And so I'm essentially made $220 worth of profits on Apple. But then I also get taxed on that money as well. So that's just like a very, very simple example. Basically, the point is that you get taxed twice with a traditional brokerage account or with normal stocks. And with an IRA, that's not the case. You only get taxed either on your income or the money that you've made on that stock. Of course, there's a limit on how much money you can put in every single year, and that's $6,000 per individual. But putting that money in lowers your overall tax contributions. There are two forms of IRA. One is Roth and the other is traditional. These are defined by when you actually pay taxes on the money that you put in. So let me start by talking about the traditional just because its name is traditional. A traditional IRA, you only need to pay tax once when you take the money out of your account. So let's say you put money into your traditional IRA this year. This year, that $6,000 that you put in doesn't count towards your adjusted gross income. So you don't get taxed on that money. But when you take it out for retirement, you get taxed on all of that money. So your adjusted gross income includes anything that you take out of a traditional IRA. So with a Roth IRA, it's the other way. So you pay taxes now, but after you put your money into a Roth IRA, you don't ever have to worry about paying taxes on that money ever again. So now you're probably wondering why it's so complicated and why can't you just put your money in a bank account? I think it's important to note that money now is worth more than money in the future. So if you have $100 now, it's not going to be worth $100 maybe next year or the year after that because of various factors like inflation. If you're saving that money up for retirement, you really want it to grow. And so that's why, like, having brokerage accounts, like putting your money in money markets or stocks or whatever, those give you more of a chance of having your money grow. So because I can't spend that $100 now, I want to be paid to spend that money later. If you don't want to spend time picking stocks, you could use robo-advisors like Wealthfront or Betterment. Robo-advisors basically allow you to put your money in and then they can pick the stocks for you. Most of the time it's going to be like ETFs or mutual funds, but they have a strategy available depending on how aggressive you want to be with your growth. So you can just like plop your money in and not need to worry about which things make the most sense to buy, especially if you like don't want to take the time to research. But if you're feeling frisky, you could try Robinhood or Charles Schwab. Make sure you're making smart decisions and use your money wisely. Budgeting. I just made that into a one-word sentence just so you guys know how important it is. So many people fear budgeting. It's very scary knowing your hard-earned money doesn't go very far. But budgeting, however, is one of the most important things. And after eating in for so many months, it's natural to want to go out and support local businesses. But make sure you are realistic about how much you can afford. And do keep track of how much you are spending. In the most general terms, budgeting is about allocating money to places where you need or want them, and also making sure that you have enough to cover the basics. There are many apps that can help you keep track of your budget, like Mint or YNAB, Or if you're meticulous, you can make your own spreadsheet and track all of your spending there. I personally use YNAB because I really like their outlook on money, which is that every dollar has its own job. At the beginning of the month, I budget a specific amount for each category. If I stay under the budget that I allocated, then great, it can go to the next month. But if I overspend in one category, then I have to give up money from another category. I try not to use money for next month because I know that next month I'll also want to use that money for other things. Here's the thing, I don't think that you should feel guilty about spending money, but I think it's important to know what you're sacrificing or giving up when you overspend in a category. I hope that makes sense. Like, as a concrete example, I ate out a lot before. Sometimes I would spend upwards of $400 a month on just eating out exclusively. But I would have only budgeted $200 at the beginning of the month for eating out. Since I have all of my emergency savings and all of my medium and long-term goals set in high yield savings accounts and investment accounts, it was easier to dip into like my more frivolous funds, and that would be clothing. Here on this channel, you guys know that I really like to talk about personal finance and fashion, and so clothing is also a very big part of my personal life as well. Every month that I went over my dining budget, I would have to take money out of my clothing budget to supplement it. And that really breaks my heart. Putting everything else away from where I could spend it very easily made it so that it was just like a little bit harder to use that money. There were just like more steps in between needing to take out that money to supplement my dining out. So it made more sense for me to use like my more frivolous funds, I guess. As things slowly open up, I'm going to keep my grocery budget the same, but increase my dining out budget to $150. Consistently, I've been spending around $100 these past few months. And I don't really want to go up to $200 yet because lifestyle inflation is still a real thing. So yeah. My last thought on this subject is to plan your money so that you could use it. So this next way is to take advantage of temporary relief only if you need it. Because of the current situation, many banks and lenders have a lot of relief efforts to get everyone back on their feet. Some of these programs include delayed payments and waived fees for credit cards, student loans, mortgage payments, etc. Federal student loans are automatically suspended with interest rates set to 0 until September 30th. That means that after September 30th, the amount you still owe will be the same as when you made your last payment. Before missing a payment for your credit card, make sure to check in with your lender to see what options you have. One of the last things I find super important is to always invest in yourself. Some people think that saving up for retirement is enough, but I don't think it is. I think some great ways to start include picking up a new hobby like art classes or reading new books. I personally have been researching side businesses and ways to make passive income that isn't directly tied to my job. It's always important to know your worth and what you bring to the table, even if obstacles come your way. I think investing in yourself is the best way to make sure you never undervalue yourself, which goes to my next point. The last thing I have for all of you is to be confident. I spent years being really scared of how much money was in my bank account, especially during college. And I think that at the end of the day, money is a tool for you to get where you want to be. So it's super important to make sure your money works for you and not let it shackle you. Ultimately, you are the one in control. Thanks for watching my video. If you have any other tips or tricks on how you changed your money habits for the better, please leave them in the comments down below. Thank you, bye-bye.